Chapter 474, Fierce Yingxue. She specifically addressed the Empress. Your Majesty, Emperor, the performance of my sword dance may not be very captivating. However, if Your Majesty and the Silver Moon Pavilion Master don't mind, I'm willing to perform. Excellent. I want to see what talents Miss Su possesses beyond her medical skills. Han Yuwen eagerly chimed in. While she was overstepping her bounds, Chu Mingyuan remained silent when he noticed Wu Dao didn't object, indicating his tacit approval of Han Yuwen's actions. Chu Mingyuan had some matters to discuss with Wu Dao, so he chose to endure this situation. Yingxue stood on the stage, and upon catching Chu Yihan's glance, she playfully winked at him before retrieving the red jade shop whip from her waist. Having been taught by Chu Yihan a few times, Yingxue had become much more proficient in the whip technique. As the performance began, she directly targeted Han Yuwen's seat with her whip. Han Yuwen did not expect Yingxue to hit her in public, so she naturally did not dodge. Yingxue's whip struck her desk, and the dishes and cups in front of her shattered on the floor. The fragments flew in all directions, narrowly avoiding scratching her face. "Ah!" she exclaimed, and Feng Qing and Yun Dan quickly shielded her. However, it was to no avail. Yingxue's whip became more ferocious, and her entire seating area was affected. She had no means of escape. Due to her pride, her seat was positioned close to the grandstand and was solitary. So, Yingxue wouldn't harm others, yet it left Han Yuwen with no escape. Behind her sat Qin Muyan, who was thoroughly enjoying the spectacle. Qin Muyan's eyes gleamed, and his drinking motions became more boisterous. Yingxue truly has a temper. Han Yuwen's provocation was tantamount to courting death. Hearing Han Yuwen's screams, Wei Ju sighed beside Qin Muyan. Her temper is too much. I'm afraid there aren't many men in the Great Wei dynasty who can endure it, right? While the people of the Great Wei dynasty were known for their boldness, where women could practice martial arts and archery just like men, and societal norms were less restrictive, Yingxue's act of going on stage to strike someone without a word, and doing it in front of everyone, was excessively audacious. Yingxue, you court death. How dare you humiliate me like this? Before Han Yuwen could finish her threatening words, Yingxue had already swung her long whip, sweeping away her table and pulling it down to the ground with a crash. Princess. Yun Dan shielded Han Yuwen with her body, preventing her from getting hurt. On the other hand, Feng Qing was ready to charge onto the stage and confront Yingxue. Yingxue, you've gone too far. How dare you openly assault the princess? What assault? This is a performance. After finishing her whip dance, Yingxue coiled the red jade soft whip around her hand, her eyes innocent. The princess wanted to see my performance. Why? Must I dance with a sword just like you? Is my whip not good enough? Excellent. Chu Yihan applauded. As soon as he praised her, the crowd joined in, applauding and commending Yingxue for her captivating whip dance. Yingxue tilted her head. See, everyone agrees. Yingxue even shouted to Wu Dao, Silver Moon Pavilion Master, do you think my whip dance is good? No one could see Wu Dao's face, but they could distinctly hear his deep and raspy voice. Good. Teacher. Feng Qing was indignant. It was one thing if the people of the Great Qing dynasty were biased, but why was even their teacher leaning toward Yingxue? Teacher, she's intentionally bullying me. Han Yuwen gritted her teeth, looking at Wu Dao, hoping he would intervene. Chapter 475, Lin Sisi. Revenge for yourself. However, Wu Dao pondered for a long time and only said, I'm not as good as you. Han Yuwen seemed to have suffered a disaster. The hatred on her face was like a burning anger. Yingxue, eldest princess, does our Great Qing dynasty have many talents? This unique skill of mine is barely acceptable, right? Yingxue asked humbly. The more humble she appeared, the more she exuded a sense of mockery. Han Yuwen grew even angrier. Yingxue, one will reward you handsomely. In any case, seeing that Yingxue had one face for the Great Qing dynasty, Chu Mingyuan also gave her face. Yingxue received her reward and turned around to look at Han Yuwen. She then thought of Lin Sisi and suggested to Chu Mingyuan, Emperor, the eldest princess thinks that all the noble ladies in our country are too weak to stand up to the wind, so she asked her maid to perform. Actually, among the noble ladies, many are better at sword dancing than the eldest princess maid. Why don't we let them spar and let everyone see that even the women of our great Qing dynasty are not inferior to men? This suggestion was very good. Not only could it save face, but it could also slap Han Yuan's face. Chu Mingyuan immediately said, "If there is a noble girl who can dance with a knife and sword and spar with the princess maid, regardless of whether she wins or loses, I will reward her heavily." Su Yingxue got off the stage and winked at Lin Sisi. Lin Sisi's heart jumped. "I can one." Su Yingxue walked in front of her and held her hand. "Don't you want this chance? Besides, I've already found out that the person who drugged you is Han Yuwen. It's her." Lin Sisi's eyes were burning with anger. She grabbed a palace guard's knife and rushed onto the stage. She pointed at Feng Qing and asked, "Do you dare to compete with me?" Feng Qing was already angry. Han Yuwen was humiliated by Su Yingxue, so she couldn't teach Su Yingxue a lesson in public. Now, Lin Sisi had jumped out. Lin Sisi had always been on good terms with Su Yingxue, so teaching her a lesson was equivalent to teaching Su Yingxue a lesson. Feng Qing also jumped onto the stage with her sword in hand and raised her chin high. "Let's compete, but don't cry if you lose. You said that our princess bullied you, the delicate flower in the boudoir." "Who is the delicate flower in the boudoir?" "Inborn in the thorn thicket." Lin Sisi waved her knife and slashed at Feng Qing. Everyone thought that it would be a competition of swords, but they did not expect the two of them to directly become swords. Chu Mingyuan was a little unhappy, but he was the one who allowed this competition. Since they were already fighting, he couldn't tell them to stop. Chu Jinling stayed by noble consort Xiao's side and shook noble consort Xiao's arm worriedly. "Mother, do you have a way to make them stop? That maid's martial arts is very strong. I'm afraid Sisi isn't her match. If she's not a match, why is she showing off? He deserves to be beaten up." Noble consort Xiao did not have Chu Jinling's intentions. She had always been magnanimous and only looked up to capable women. She hated uselessness. This time, it was Lin Sisi who jumped onto the stage to stir up trouble. If she couldn't win, she wouldn't make a move. Even if Chu Jinling begged her, she would at most let Lin Sisi not be punished. However, when she saw her son obsessed with Lin Sisi, she felt a headache coming on. Chu Jinling was extremely nervous. He clenched his fists so hard that he was sweating profusely. On the stage, Lin Sisi's movements became more and more agile. Between her and Feng Qing, the sound of swords became more and more intense. Every move was fatal, and the hearts of the people below the stage were hanging. Chapter 476. Feng Qing was killed. Feng Qing found the gap as she turned, thrusting her sword towards Lin Sisi's side. Lin Sisi agilely dodged, then vigorously swung her sword. Not only did she deflect Feng Qing's sword, but the force of her powerful strike also forced Feng Qing to retreat several steps. Feng Qing's hand holding the sword trembled. She noticed that her sword now bore several nicks from Lin Sisi's sword. However, under the intense sunlight, Lin Sisi's sword glistened with a piercing cold light. Han Yuwen, assisted by Yun Dan, gritted her teeth and shouted at Feng Qing, "If you lose, I'll kill you." Feng Qing's heart tightened. "Princess, don't say a word. If you fail to defeat Su Yingxue, then you will kill this wench for me." Han Yuwen continued to pound the ground, her eyes filled with unvented anger. Reprimanded by Han Yuwen, Feng Qing had no choice but to attack Lin Sisi even faster and more ruthlessly, losing her composure. Lin Sisi looked carefree on the surface, but she was very careful when facing the enemy. She observed Feng Qing's weakness. She was afraid that Han Yuwen would kill her, so she was eager to win. Her actions were fast and full of loopholes. Seizing an opportunity, Lin Sisi used her sword to knock Feng Qing's sword away. Taking advantage of Feng Qing's momentary confusion, Lin Sisi placed her sword at Feng Qing's neck. With a swift half-turn, she cut through half of Feng Qing's neck. Poochie, blood splattered, staining Lin Sisi's face with a cold and heroic demeanor under the sunlight. "Oh my God! She killed someone. Is she dead?" This skilled maidservant was defeated by Miss Lin and died at her hands. Lin Sisi watched as Feng Qing convulsed on the floor, twitching a few times before rolling her eyes and snorting. With a sword in hand, Lin Sisi stood on the stage and knelt slowly. Emperor, I have one. It's just that one made a mistake and accidentally killed this maidservant. Anyone with a martial arts background at the banquet could tell that Lin Sisi did not act carelessly. She had intentionally killed the maidservant. But her actions brought relief to the noble ladies of the great Qing dynasty. Who asked Han Yuwen and her maid to be so arrogant and provocative? Lin Sisi did well. Sisi truly lives up to her name. Su Yingxue applauded from below the stage. Yihan was surprised but worried. Miss, won't Miss Lin be blamed by the emperor for killing someone like this? Su Yingxue smiled, stood up, and shouted across the stage to Han Yuwen, Princess, keeping such a disgraceful maidservant will be of little use to you, don't you think? Han Yuwen's anger surged. Which? She killed her maidservant and even dared to provoke her. Emperor, your great Qing dynasty has gone too far. It was just a competition, yet she killed Feng Qing in front of everyone. Feng Qing was my maidservant. Even in the Qi state, Your Majesty dared not reprimand Feng Qing, but now she has tragically died under Lin Sisi's sword. Yun Dan, usually indifferent, couldn't help but redden her eyes. She and Feng Qing were like sisters. They had served Han Yuwen together for so many years, and now she witnessed her death. She wished to hack Lin Sisi and Su Yingxue into pieces. Han Yuwen didn't feel sorry for Feng Qing's death. She only thought Feng Qing was useless. But she wouldn't let Su Yingxue off easily. Approaching Lin Sisi, she pointed and said, Emperor, this person killed my maidservant. Please give me an explanation. Chu Mingyuan's gaze deepened as he rebuked Lin Sisi. You dare. How dare you kill someone in front of me, Lin Sisi? Who gave you the courage? Chapter 477. Chu Yihan gave him a knife. Lin Sisi lowered her gaze. Emperor, it is my fault for taking a life, but this maid deserved to die. Even if my maid deserved to die, it is not your place to take action. Han Yuwen angrily retorted. The princess is right, but the princess has offended a noble daughter of our great Qing dynasty. Should I make a move against you? Sisi doesn't have that status, but I'm giving you face by attacking your maid. Lin Sisi pointed her sword at Feng Qing's corpse. 1 a.m. General Lin's legitimate daughter. This mere maid insulted the noble daughter in the great Qing dynasty. There is nothing wrong with me killing her. It's just that the blood splattered in the main hall and stained the emperor's eyes. I'm indeed guilty and hope that the emperor will punish me. Lin Sisi knelt, seeking punishment. Her words were both tactful and defended the honor of the great Qing dynasty. Han Yuwen could only swallow her frustration. Chu Mingyuan was satisfied with her response. Although he intended to punish Lin Sisi, he said, Lin Sisi, for killing in front of the palace, you are disrespectful. One hereby ground you for 3 months, and you are not allowed to leave the residence without an edict. Leave the banquet immediately and return to your residence. Chu Mingyuan's punishment was a face-saving measure for Han Yuwen. Looking at Han Yuwen, he added, the maid is dead. I hope the princess can find solace. I will have the empress select an outstanding maid to present to the princess. Emperor, is this punishment not too lenient? Lin Sisi has taken a life, and she's only grounded. The empress, harboring hatred towards Su Yingxue, despised anyone associated with her. Su Yingxue lowered her head and chuckled. The empress was walking right into Chu Mingyuan's trap. Chu Mingyuan was displeased. He gave the empress a fierce glare. As the ruler of a nation, how can one backtrack on my decision? Emperor, the empress wanted to argue further, but Chu Mingyuan's stern gaze silenced her. Chu Changye, showing wisdom, stepped forward and calmly stated, Mother, there are still maids in my residence skilled in martial arts. I will personally present them to the princess for selection, ensuring her satisfaction. Chu Mingyuan stroked his beard. Yes, Ye is considerate. Despite the empress' foolishness, he had a son who pleased Chu Mingyuan. Chu Changye also advised the empress not to provoke Chu Mingyuan again. Reluctantly, the empress had to give up. As Lin Sisi was about to leave the palace, Yihan suddenly spoke. Wait. Everyone's breath caught. Sisi turned around, surprised. What is it, Your Highness? This sword, one bestow upon you. Yihan waved his hand, and Mochi approached Sisi with a treasured sword. Chapter 478. Wu Dao makes a move. Her father mentioned that the late emperor admired him and allowed him to use this sword. He had always been grateful. Now, Yihan had bestowed this sword on her. Wait. Chu Mingyuan's eyes were filled with hostility. Ninth Prince, how can you reward someone so easily? This sword was originally consecrated in the Ancestor Hall. How can you take it out without my permission? Father has decreed that all relics belong to me. One have the right to bestow it upon anyone. Moreover, Sisi is a hero among women and one of the best among the noble women of our great Qing dynasty. There is nothing wrong with me bestowing her with this. Yihan raised his eyes, not hiding the sharpness in his gaze as if he were deliberately staring at Chu Mingyuan. Chu Mingyuan clenched his fists in his sleeves. A flame of anger burned from the bottom of his heart, causing his entire body to tremble slightly. In just an instant, he restrained himself. Mochi reminded Sisi, Miss Lin, quickly take it. Sisi was stunned for a moment before she took the sword. This sword wasn't light, and most women wouldn't be able to pick it up, but Sisi held it with utmost respect. She left with the sword in her arms. Her back view was as elegant as when she carried the sword on stage. Chu Jinling was captivated by it. When noble consort Xiao was not paying attention, he quietly ran to the palace wall. He watched Sisi being sent out of the palace and thought that he would not be able to see her for the next few months. Even if he could run out of the palace, her mother would not let him enter the general manor. The corners of his mouth curled into a bitter smile. When his mother loved him, she loved him, but when she controlled him, she would never give him a chance to take advantage. Sisi, be good. Chu Jinling looked at the figure that was walking further and further away, his heart filled with hope. Ninth Prince, the Empress is looking for you. Granny Song shouted from below. Chu Jinling quickly restrained his emotions and put on a smile. PM here. He jumped off the city wall and returned to noble consort Xiao's side with Granny Song, returning to being that obedient son. Seeing him return with a smile, Yingxue felt much better. After Sisi vented her anger, she would not be so stubborn about this matter in the future. As for her and Chu Jinling, today, Yihan gave Sisi a sword to give her face and make everyone forget what happened that night. Yihan saw the guilt in her heart and came to help her make up for it, right? Yingxue cupped her face and glanced over at Yihan. Yihan was also looking at her. Their eyes met, and the blood in her chest started to pump again. When Yuwen saw Yingxue's smile, her entire face became distorted. Yingxue. Yundan saw that Yuwen's emotions were unstable and quickly comforted her. Princess, don't be anxious. With the teacher around, you will not lose to Yingxue. Of course, one won't lose, Yuwen said stubbornly. However, she knew very well that Wu Dao did not side with her at all. Otherwise, when Yingxue whipped her just now, Yingxue wouldn't have been able to retreat unharmed. And Sisi would not have the chance to kill her maid. The banquet would not stop because of the death of a maid. Just as Chu Mingyuan was about to call for the next batch of performances, the hoarse and pale voice sounded with endless pressure. I heard that Miss Su's medical skills are extraordinary. I'm not talented, but I would like to see it for myself. For some reason, when Wu Dao said this, it made Yingxue's nerves go numb. However, in just a moment, she stood up and calmly faced Wu Dao. May I know how you would like to experience it, sir? Chapter 479. Compared to surgery at this moment, Yihan quickly voiced his objection. The proficiency of medical skills is not suitable for a competition here. According to Ninth Brother's suggestion, where should we have the competition? In your Ninth Prince's mansion? If Ninth Brother thinks so, I don't mind bringing all my beloved ministers and their families for a visit to the Ninth Prince's mansion, Chu Mingyuan said with a mocking smile. Yihan consistently opposed him at every turn, and it was like a thorn in his heart. Since he was protecting Su Yingxue, why should he let him feel at ease? Seeing that Yihan was about to have a conflict with Chu Mingyuan, Su Yingxue quickly said, I think it's possible. I just don't know how the Silver Moon Pavilion Master wants to witness my medical skills. Her original intention was Wu Dao. Wu Dao had attacked her, so she would not let go of this opportunity to investigate him. Han Yuwen's eyes flashed with excitement. The teacher was finally willing to give her a chance. She quickly stood up. The level of medical skills will only be known after a competition. Su Yingxue, do you dare to compete with me? Princess, what gives you the confidence to say such things to me? Has the princess sparred less with me recently? Has the princess ever won? A trace of distress appeared in Su Yingxue's eyes. Her opponent was too stupid. She was not happy about winning. Han Yuwen felt humiliated, but she would not lower her head just like that. Su Yingxue, you don't have to be so arrogant. If you're inferior to me. Su Yingxue did not know where Han Yuwen got her confidence from. But compared to Han Yuwen, she was determined to compete. Since the eldest princess is interested, Miss Su will have a competition with the eldest princess. Let me see how much Miss Su has received from your father's teaching. Wu Dao's hoarse laughter always made people uncomfortable. No one could see through or hear him. Su Yingxue had been waiting for him to come up with a topic for the competition, but she had not expected it to be this. Dissection. What kind of competition was this? What should we do? Everyone could not help but ask this question. Chu Mingyuan's expression also changed. The coroner will only dissect the corpse when they examine it. Sir, are you talking about this? No. We can dissect living people too, Wu Dao said in a deep voice. And the topic I came up with is not limited to this. It's a dissection and suturing surgery. Let's see who can complete it better, Miss Su or the eldest princess. Dissect a living person? They still need to suture. This was too unbelievable. It's so scary. This is indeed terrifying. Whoever gets chosen will be unlucky. The people who had been looking forward to the competition earlier instantly felt their scalps go numb. They all kept a distance from Su Yingxue and Han Yuwen, afraid that they would catch them and use them as test subjects. Su Yingxue frowned. Using a living person as a test subject, she could smell a conspiracy. However, Han Yuwen seized this opportunity and said to Chu Mingyuan, Your Majesty, I'm ready. If Miss Su doesn't understand, I'll show her first. Han Yuwen got someone to prepare an operating table in front of everyone. Then, he changed into a germinal suit and tied her long hair firmly behind her head. Then, she ordered Yun Dan, You, come here. Take off your clothes and lie down. Yun Dan was very obedient. She took off her coat and lay down in front of Han Yuwen's operating table. She looked at Su Yingxue arrogantly. Miss Su, you've been practicing medicine for so long. I'm afraid you don't know that the human body has a total of 206 organs. There's the respiratory system, nervous system, digestive system, blood system, circulatory system, and so on. However, it's not that a human body can't survive just because it lacks an organ. For example, the appendix between the cecum and ileum on the lower right side of the abdomen. After removal, it won't affect the human immune system. Chapter 480. Slap her face till it's swollen. People who didn't understand medicine science were confused when they heard Han Yu's words. But when the few highly respected court physicians heard Han Yuwen's words, they were puzzled. What was the appendix? Although the human body had many internal organs, could they be cut off casually? Moreover, after the incision, how should the issues of suturing the wound and preventing wound infection be addressed? A court physician shook his head at Han Yuwen's behavior. Child's play. This is simply child's play. It's like playing with one's life. Su Yingxue agreed with the court physician. Han Yuwen was indeed playing with one life. However, she understood what Han Yuwen was saying. What she was about to do with Yun Dan was an appendectomy. After the removal, Yun Dan's body would not be affected. And Wu Dao was the one who would determine their victory or defeat. Wu Dao saw Su Yingxue pondering for a long time and asked her, Miss Su, are you afraid? Or perhaps you don't understand what the princess is saying? If you don't understand, princess, please begin. Su Yingxue ignored Wu Dao and raised her eyebrows at Han Yuwen. Han Yuwen hated her indifferent look the most. She thought to herself, Su Yingxue, you're going to lose. She had asked around. The last time Su Yingxue operated on her father, she was anxious. How could she win against her, a surgery doctor? Compared to her in surgery, Su Yingxue, this ancient person, was like a blind person jumping around in front of a discerning person. She would slap her face until it was swollen. When Han Yuwen started, she lit an incense stick on the table. The incense stick would take an hour to burn out, but from the time she started the surgery to the time she finished the suture, it did not take an hour at all. Only 2/3 of the incense stick had been burned, and there was still a small half left. Han Yuwen looked at the wound that she stitched up perfectly. She smiled proudly. She did not believe that Su Yingxue could be better than her. After she finished suturing, she stood beside Yundan and invited Wu Dao over. Wu Dao looked at the incision she made and the wound she sutured. He only said one word, good. Han Yuwen was a little disappointed. Before she transmigrated, she was also a highly praised member of the laboratory, but her mentor had only used one word to commend her, good. Although her mentor rarely said the word good to others, she remembered that when her senior Long Shuli underwent surgery, her mentor had said, very good. Always one more word than her. This made her feel indignant for a long time. But now, the person who was going to compete with her wasn't Long Shuli, so she didn't have to think so much. To be able to get Wu Dao to praise her was already enough to save face. Chu Mingyuan's expression was unfathomable. He said lightly, Princess Yuwen's medical skills are indeed extraordinary. Wu Dao would never easily acknowledge a person. With Chu Mingyuan's words, Han Yuwen could be considered a little proud. She changed into her sterile suit and turned around. She immediately provoked Su Yingxue. Su Yingxue, it's your turn. If you don't dare to make a move, then admit defeat to me as soon as possible. Kneel and kowtow 10 times to me, and one will not hold it against you. Su Yingxue touched her nose and was very curious. Princess, you're a person who lost all your clothes. What do you have to fuss about what happened before? Did she forget that she married a group of beggars? Han Yu was so angry that her entire body trembled. She threw the surgical tools at Su Yingxue. Su Yingxue, don't you dare. She had finally forgotten about this matter. This was an extremely insulting scar, but Su Yingxue dared to mention it. Chapter 481. Taking a knife for Su Yingxue. She was such a noble and proud person, yet she was thrown into a group of beggars to be humiliated. Swoosh. The sound of a sharp blade cutting through the air reached them. Han Yuwen was pushed by Wu Dao and fell to the ground. She let out a startled cry and wanted to ask Wu Dao why he pushed her. Boom. Behind her, the sound of a collapsing pillar echoed. She followed the sound and saw a golden chopstick piercing through a pillar as thick as an adult's thigh. It was evident that the person behind this had profound internal energy and extraordinarily powerful martial art. However, Han Yuwen trembled all over, and cold sweat on her back soaked her clothes. The chopstick was aimed at her, following the position she had just been standing. If Wu Dao hadn't pushed her, the chopstick wouldn't have pierced the pillar but her. Han Yuwen's face turned pale. She looked in the direction where the chopstick came from. It was where Chu Yihan was sitting. Chu Yihan's eyes were chilling. Next time, no matter who is protecting you, it's useless. Your Highness, Han Yuwen was forced to tears. How could Chu Yihan be so heartless? Just because she threw a surgical tool at Su Yingxue, he wanted to kill her? Su Yingxue glanced at the surgical tool far away. She couldn't help but comment that Han Yuwen, a woman without martial skills attempting to kill someone, must have lost her mind. However, Han Yuwen immediately presented her with a dilemma. Su Yingxue, don't be too pleased. It's your turn. Choose someone close to you and perform this surgery on her. This question made Su Yingxue frown. Who would willingly take a surgery for no reason? Regardless of whether it would be fatal or not, Just opening a wound on their body was not something an ordinary person would willingly do. "I'm willing, miss. Please perform the surgery on me." Yihan knelt in front of Su Yingxue. She knew that Su Yingxue was a principled person. Choosing someone for this task was difficult for her. If possible, she would probably prefer to perform the surgery on herself. However, she was Su Yingxue's servant, originally a subordinate, and should be at Su Yingxue's service. "Good girl, get up. I won't let you be harmed." Su Yingxue pulled her up and faced Chu Mingyuan. "Emperor, Princess Yuwen can easily cut open a maid's body, but one believes that treating human life with such contempt is no different from taking it lightly. Why not find a patient with this illness? I'm willing to perform the surgery on them." She had been contemplating this matter earlier. It wasn't that she hadn't encountered the illness Han Yuwen mentioned at the clinic. If she found a suitable patient, performing the surgery would be justified. However, she refused to engage in the immoral act of randomly picking a person and conducting surgery on them, as Han Yuwen did. "Su Yingxue, if you're afraid, just say so. Why are you finding excuses? Waiting for you to find a patient? What right do you have to make me wait for you? If you're willing to admit defeat, I will wait for you to kowtow." Han Yuwen spoke arrogantly. "I use my maid for the surgery. Yun Dan has been with me for many years, and we share a deep bond. Yet, you want to find a patient. Not only is it time-consuming, but are you trying to deceive me? Or do you have no confidants willing to sacrifice for you?" Her eyes carried a strong sense of mockery as she presented her skewed logic confidently. Su Yingxue protected Yihan. "People close to you are meant to be cherished, not subjected to surgery. I'm afraid the princess doesn't understand this, right? Cut the chatter. Su Yingxue, are you trying to stall for time?" When he heard those discussions, he snorted disdainfully. "You don't understand. Imperial uncle is fighting for the sacrifice of his beloved. How could such an opportunity fall into the hands of others? Even if he was stabbed, he could not let this opportunity go to others. Chu Yihan, you are the 9th prince of the great Qing dynasty. If you were to be stabbed today, I'm afraid it won't be easy for you to leave the palace," Qin Muyan kindly reminded. Chu Yihan's imperial brother was not as close to him as his imperial brother. Chu Yihan's eyes were cold. "What does it have to do with you?" "Of course, it has something to do with me. Because I'm willing to sacrifice for Miss Su. In the future, I will marry her and bring her back to the great Wei dynasty." Qin Muyan became more and more excited as he spoke. Su Yingxue quickly covered his mouth. "Your Highness, didn't I ask you not to say such things anymore?" Chapter 483. I can't wait to dissect Su Yingxue. Luckily, he didn't speak loudly. If everyone had heard it, would her reputation be ruined? Although her reputation wasn't that good at the moment. Don't even think about it. Chu Yihan's eyes were filled with hostility, and his aura was so powerful that it made people feel afraid. If the two of them were to argue here, Su Yingxue would not let them do such a dangerous thing for her. Her eyes flashed. "If the two your highnesses have such intentions, then come with me." She led the two away from the view of the crowd. A noble of the great Qing dynasty and a noble of the great Wei dynasty were following behind her, protecting her step by step. This scene made all the women present jealous. They felt jealous. Especially Han Yuwen. She wished she could use surgical tools to cut out every nerve in Su Yingxue's body. This woman. Not content with just seducing Qin Muyan, she also lured away Chu Yihan. Chu Yihan, Qin Muyan, and Su Yingxue had been away for quite a while, and it seemed like they might never return. The waiting crowd was growing anxious. "Father, I'll immediately lead people to search for them," Chu Chengye said when he saw Chu Mingyuan frowning. Chu Mingyuan's brows relaxed a little. "All right, go ahead." Once Chu Chengye left with his men, Han Yuwen couldn't sit still. Qin Muyan's seat was originally behind hers. When Chu Chengye left, Qin Muyan's confidant also followed him out. Han Yuwen was afraid that something suspicious was going on. If Su Yingxue ran away, her plan would be ruined. She stood up, ready to search as well. Yundan had just done the surgery. She tried to persuade Han Yuwen weakly, "Princess, wait patiently. This is the palace. Su Yingxue can't escape." Han Yuwen didn't listen at all. Chu Yihan and Qin Muyan are protecting her. What if they come up with another idea? She would never allow such a thing to happen. She wanted Su Yingxue to be unable to raise her head in front of her. "Princess." Yundan struggled to get up and chase after Han Yuwen. However, her movement would pull on her wound. Although Han Yuwen's medical skills were outstanding, she still had an opening on her body and removed her organs. She could not walk as usual. After Han Yuwen left, in just a short while, Su Yingxue and Chu Yihan returned. Naturally, Chu Mingyuan had questions. "Su Yingxue, what were you doing? You made me and all the civil and military officials wait for you. Emperor, please forgive me. One had asked Your Highness to find some tools from the palace," Su Yingxue explained. "What tools?" Chu Mingyuan frowned. Chu Yihan waved his hand, and palace servants carried 4 screens onto the stage. The 4 screens surrounded the stage, but everyone could still see Chu Yihan standing inside. After Chu Yihan stepped out, he explained, "Undressing in public is inappropriate. With these screens to cover, it should be fine." His explanation made sense. Chu Mingyuan didn't say anything. "Since you're ready, let's get started." "Yes, I obey." Su Yingxue clapped her hands, and Mo Chi brought a stretcher. Everyone was curious about who was on the stretcher, but Su Yingxue covered it with a layer of cloth, and the stretcher was taken behind the screens. Chu Yihan returned to his seat without bothering Su Yingxue. Seeing him, many naturally guessed that the person on the stretcher was Qin Muyan. Many sighed in secret. TSK, Miss Su is truly daring to operate on the Scarlet Flame King." Chapter 485, Lost to Su Yingxue. No need. Wu Dao's voice was cold and deep. "Why? What if something happens to the princess, and they plot against her?" Yundan had never been this worried before. In Qi state, they could do whatever they wanted, but since they arrived in the Great Qing dynasty, Feng Qing was killed. Han Yuwen had also been humiliated by the beggar, and now she had undergone surgery. If she couldn't save Han Yuwen, her demise wasn't far off. Wu Dao had already figured out that Han Yuwen's disappearance was because Su Yingxue had taken her away. She was now on the operating table, and the surgery had already begun. Even if he exposed her now, it would be futile. Wu Dao no longer paid attention to Yundan. He fully focused on watching Su Yingxue's figure on the screen. She resembled her mother but was surprisingly different. Without studying in the modern era's advanced medical field and lacking professional training, she demonstrated remarkable surgical skills. Her talent and ability far exceeded her mother, Long Shuli. With only half of the incense stick burned, Su Yingxue finished suturing. Inspecting Han Yuwen's wound, she nodded in satisfaction. "It's an improvement from before." "Ah." "All." Han Yuwen made a muffled sound. It was then that Su Yingxue noticed she still had her mute acupoint pressed. She suddenly remembered and said, "I'm sorry, I forgot." Undoing Han Yuwen's acupuncture point, Han Yuwen immediately cursed weakly, "Su Yingxue, you wretch." Due to the strength of the anesthetic and the recent surgery, her voice was unusually feeble. Su Yingxue kindly advised, "Princess, conserve your strength to prevent further injury to the wound." "Emperor, I have completed the surgery. Please have the Silver Moon Pavilion Master evaluate it," she said to Chu Mingyuan after walking out from behind the screen. Chu Mingyuan showed great respect to Wu Dao. "Sir, please." Wu Dao grunted and walked onto the stage, bypassing the screen. He wasn't surprised to see the weakened Han Yuwen lying on the operating table. Observing the wound, he concluded that Su Yingxue's incision and suturing skills surpassed Han Yuwen, a surgical doctor. In a deep voice, he remarked, "Very good. Very good." Han Yuwen's eyes widened in disbelief. "Teacher, Su Yingxue, how is this possible? How could she do better than me? She's nothing. She can't surpass me." Wu Dao turned around, allowing Han Yuwen to see his unfathomable eyes. Your skills are inferior. My skills, inferior. Han Yuwen was deeply shocked, her eyes gradually losing focus. How is that possible? How can I lose to Su Yingxue? Nothing is impossible. Since Mr. Wu Dao said so, you have lost, Su Yingxue said expressionlessly. When she raised her eyes to look at Wu Dao, curiosity filled her beautiful eyes. Can you tell me, the Silver Moon Pavilion Master, what is your relationship with my mother? Why did you spy on me so many times? Wu Dao remained enigmatic. Standing in front of him, she could feel the intimidating aura he emitted, beyond the capacity of normal people. Wu Dao suddenly laughed, a dark and cold laughter. Sooner or later, you will know. And she would bring all the people he desired to him. Your mother is a wretch, just like you. Han Yuwen covered her wound and sat up, glaring at Su Yingxue with hatred. Smack. Su Yingxue slapped her. You have no right to insult my mother. You're nothing compared to her. When I met her, you, Su Yingxue, didn't exist at all. You have no right to say that. Chapter 486. Lure her out. Elon Yuwen could barely stand firm by supporting herself on the operating table. She didn't notice the glint in Su Yingxue's eyes. Su Yingxue narrowed her eyes. Sure enough, just as she had guessed, Han Yuwen and her mother were people from the same era. Perhaps they did not belong to this 9 continents, but Han Yuwen was only a few years older than her, so why was she so familiar with her mother? In their era, there were surgeries, exquisite medicine, and what else? What was their relationship with Wu Dao? What was his motive? More and more questions surfaced in Su Yingxue's mind, but this only fueled her determination to continue searching. The secrets of her mother, Han Yuwen, and Wu Dao were yet to be unveiled. She must find out how her mother was killed. Princess. Yun Dan heard Han Yuwen's voice from the stage and rushed up immediately. She saw that Han Yuwen's clothes were disheveled, and there was a similar wound in the same spot on her body. She was shocked. Princess, she was operated on by Su Yingxue. Su Yingxue, how dare you perform surgery on the princess? Yun Dan shouted. Even if it affected her wound, she would seek justice for Han Yuwen. What is it? The person inside is the princess. The empress heard the commotion and quickly sent people to check. Yun Dan helped Han Yuwen put on her clothes and, together with the empress attendants, assisted her in leaving. Han Yuwen's eyes were filled with hatred as she slowly knelt. Emperor, please seek justice for me. Su Yingxue plotted against me. Su Yingxue, what's going on? Chu Mingyuan's face darkened with anger. He had initially thought Su Yingxue would choose between Chu Yihan and Qin Muyan for the surgery. Regardless of her choice, it would benefit him, but she chose to operate on Han Yuwen. Emperor, Su Yingxue plotted against me. She deserves to be executed. If you don't kill Su Yingxue immediately, how will you explain to Qi State? The empress declared fiercely, a sense of urgency in her voice, fearing Su Yingxue might escape again. Su Yingxue explained calmly, Emperor, the princess willingly agreed to the surgery. What did you say? The princess agreed. Chu Mingyuan's stern brows revealed doubt. Nonsense. Han Yuwen stood up angrily. How could I agree to such a dangerous thing? It was you who knocked me out and operated on me. You're slandering me. As Han Yuwen's wound throbbed with pain, her hatred for Su Yingxue deepened. She wished she could tear Su Yingxue into 1,000 pieces. Su Yingxue, not only did you harm me, but now you're also trying to falsely accuse me. You're despicable. The empress waved her sleeves forcefully. Guards. Seize her. A group of palace guards rushed towards Su Yingxue. Chu Yihan swiftly reached Su Yingxue's side. The guards, intimidated by Chu Yihan's cold and ruthless demeanor, trembled as if facing the king of the underworld. Chu Yihan coldly addressed Chu Mingyuan and the empress. This matter was voluntary on the part of the princess. I can testify for Su Yingxue. Nonsense. I did not agree. It was you. It was you who conspired against me. Yian Yuwen's eyes welled with tears of hatred. She refused to believe that Su Yingxue had conspired against her, but when she saw Chu Yihan leaving with her, She was afraid Su Yingxue would choose Chu Yihan for the surgery. Worriedly, she went to take a look, only to find out Su Yingxue had used Chu Yihan to lure her out. Chapter 487. Can't let Su Yingxue escape, that's right. Ninth Prince's baseless accusations must have limit. How could a princess of such dignity agree to let Su Yingxue operate on her? You conspired to frame the princess. The empress spoke coldly and angrily. Han Yuwen wasn't foolish. She must have fallen into Su Yingxue's trap. This time, she was determined to capture both Su Yingxue and Chu Yihan. Emperor, if the princess didn't consent willingly, how could we force her? The four-sided screen was the princess idea. The princess willingly sacrificed her mental well-being for the surgery, making us feel inferior. Su Yingxue praised Han Yu. Han Yuwen glared at her angrily. You deceitful villain. If she continued opposing Su Yingxue, she would only be damaging her reputation. Princess, if there's anything wrong with your wound, one will immediately treat it for you. However, the words you spoke before and after the surgery are inconsistent. 1 a.m. truly wronged. Su Yingxue sighed softly. Her demeanor, to onlookers, seemed full of grievance. It wasn't hard for everyone to imagine that Han Yuwen, skilled in political schemes, was helping Su Yingxue as part of a plan to harm her. Han Yuwen felt the disdainful gazes and harbored a mix of grievance and hatred. It was Su Yingxue. She's the one who harmed me. How did she become the one who wronged Su Yingxue? Chu Mingyuan knew there was no evidence to act against Su Yingxue without proof, but he wouldn't let both her and Chu Yihan off easily. Ninth brother, your alleged collaboration with Su Yingxue to harm the princess. Although there is no concrete evidence, it is a fact that the princess was injured. The two of you must give the princess an explanation. Chu Mingyuan waved his hand and ordered the guards to capture Su Yingxue. Emperor, wait. Qin Muyan suddenly appeared, jumping to Su Yingxue's side, and respectfully addressing Chu Mingyuan. Emperor, I can also testify for Su Yingxue. Princess Yuwen indeed volunteered to have the surgery performed by Su Yingxue. Su Yingxue did not coerce her. Regarding the princess exposing Su Yingxue, I find it suspicious. Han Yuwen's eyes showed a desire to devour someone. Qin Muyan, both of you have been bewitched. He was also testifying in favor of Su Yingxue. What kind of monster was Su Yingxue that made him and Chu Yihan lose their senses? Princess, I'm only stating the facts. Qin Muyan was forthright, his voice exuding a masculine aura. I am the Scarlet Flame King of the Great Wei dynasty. Does Princess think that you can cover everything in the Qi kingdom, and also in the Great Wei dynasty? Han Yuwen trembled slightly. How could she not understand the warning in Qin Muyan's words? In the Great Wei dynasty, Qin Muyan held a pivotal position, and the same was true for Chu Yihan. Both of them testified, and even she could not refute their words. It led Chu Mingyuan to accuse the two princes on her behalf. And Su Yingxue, under their protection, would remain unscathed. Su Yingxue, Han Yu felt her wound reopen due to her struggle, blood flowing incessantly, and she fainted from anger. Princess! Princess! Yun Dan shouted urgently. Han Yuwen was carried out, and Chu Mingyuan could no longer blame Su Yingxue. Forget it, all of you retreat. He waved his hand in frustration. Emperor, you can't let Su Yingxue off. If the Qi state asks us in the future, how are we going to answer to the Qi state? The Empress gripped Chu Mingyuan's sleeve. Chapter 488. Chu Yihan is jealous. The Empress didn't want Su Yingxue to escape again from this opportunity. Mother, one will send you back to the palace first, Chu Changye suggested. Chu Changye could see Chu Mingyuan's dissatisfaction with the Empress and hurriedly intervened. You too will become a fool bewitched by Su Yingxue. The Empress, experiencing cold treatment from Chu Mingyuan and now being persuaded by her son, wished she could hit her head against the wall. Although Chu Changye wanted to escort the Empress back to the palace, she refused. He didn't even have the chance to explain to the Empress that today wasn't an opportune moment to deal with Su Yingxue. Chu Yihan and Qin Muyan, one being his imperial uncle and the other the Scarlet Flame King of the Great Wei dynasty, were witnesses. Han Yuwen alone could not have overturned the two of them. It was a power struggle. Han Yuwen lost this battle. There was no need for them to side with her for Han Yuwen. Chu Chengye was also furious. He imagined the scene today. If Su Yingxue had been with him, he might not have been able to protect her. As he passed the stage, he saw the two tall men standing beside Su Yingxue. He felt an intense unwillingness. One after another, everyone left. Su Yingxue was escorted out of the hall by two men. Chu Yihan and Qin Muyan walked on her left and right, their powerful auras overwhelming. Su Yingxue found it a bit overwhelming, but she still thanked them. "Thank you both for today," she said, looking obedient. "Don't mention it. In the future, whenever you need help, feel free to come find me. I will ensure your safety," Qin Muyan responded, pleased with her attitude. Su Yingxue smiled and nodded. However, she found Qin Muyan's words oddly familiar. It seemed like Chu Yihan had said something similar to her. Su Yingxue glanced to her right and looked at Chu Yihan. His expression was cold, and he had been silent since the beginning. When he saw her gaze, he gave her a cold look but held her hand. He spoke, not to Su Yingxue, but to Qin Muyan. "She doesn't have to be so polite with me. Don't misunderstand, Scarlet Flame King." Qin Muyan sneered. "Misunderstand what? If Miss Su and Ninth Prince didn't need to be so polite, why would she thank you and me just now? This is in the palace. When we were in the residence, she was never polite to me. Every mouthful of rice one ate was personally fed by her." Chu Yihan smiled gently at Su Yingxue. Su Yingxue suddenly felt a chill run down her spine. It was true that she had fed Chu Yihan before, but his attitude today, something was off? Qin Muyan clenched his fists tightly. He didn't expect Su Yingxue and Chu Yihan to have progressed to this stage. He looked at Su Yingxue with a dark gaze. Su Yingxue took a deep breath. "Your Highness, actually, Su Yingxue, you don't have to explain yourself to me. I said I would marry you. As long as you're not Chu Yihan's princess, one will like you," Qin Muyan declared, displaying his determination. After he left, Wei Ju followed beside him. Su Yingxue rubbed her temples. She felt a little pain. Chu Yihan kept holding her hand without using much force. However, Su Yingxue's palms were so hot that they were sweating. "Your Highness, this is the palace. Why don't you let me go?" Su Yingxue's probing tone carried a hint of danger. "Do you want me to let go of you? Do you want Qin Muyan to hold your hand?" Su Yingxue shook her head. "One didn't. There's nothing between me and the Scarlet Flame King." Chapter 489. Su Yurou's death. She didn't know where Qin Muyan's determination to marry her came from. "He has feelings for you." Chu Yihan pulled her into his arms, holding her slender waist. He wished he could melt her in his palm, making her belong to him forever. "Your Highness, are you jealous?" Su Yingxue poked Chu Yihan's face. His godlike face was always so cold, unapproachable. Every time she had any thoughts about him, she felt she was too unrestrained. However, Chu Yihan's cheeks were slightly puffed up at this moment, and his deep black eyes were like gemstones flowing with brilliance. It was too easy for people not to be able to control themselves. Sensing that he was jealous for her, Su Yingxue was secretly delighted, and there was a sweet taste in her mouth. "Not really." Chu Yihan's face turned cold when he saw how she had succeeded in making him jealous. "Why not?" "You clearly," Su Yingxue pouted. Why was this man so uncute? So what if he was jealous? Why didn't he admit it? "I'm just afraid that you've been deceived by Qin Muyan. Do you know why he helped you today?" Chu Yihan stared at her with his deep eyes. Su Yingxue thought that Qin Muyan was just trying to protect her. But looking at Chu Yihan's expression, it seemed like there was something else going on. Qin Muyan had a good friend in the Qi state who died under Han Yuwen's schemes. As the Your Highness of Great Wei dynasty, he naturally couldn't avenge his good friend. Now that he has the chance to use you to deal with Han Yuwen, why wouldn't he be happy? Chu Yihan said lightly. "Is that so?" Su Yingxue was a little surprised. She didn't feel disappointed. She only felt that it was a pity. It seems that Han Yuwen has made many enemies in Qi state. Su Yingxue had some plans in her heart. If she wanted to dig out the truth she wanted from Han Yuwen's mouth, she had to cut off all her connections and make her alone without anyone to rely on. Only then could she force out the secret deep in her heart. It would be good if she could find a weakness in Han Yuwen. Sister. The woman's delicate voice interrupted Su Yingxue's thoughts. Su Yingxue turned around and saw Su Yurou, who was wearing a dance outfit, staring at her weakly. She was already delicate, and now that she had lost a lot of weight, she looked even more delicate. Some people passed by on the palace road and saw Su Yurou standing in front of Su Yingxue in such a humble manner. They thought that Su Yingxue was bullying Su Yurou and even whispered a few words. Su Yingxue wasn't interested in making those people shut up. Instead, she looked at Su Yurou curiously. You always run out of the courtyard and even came to the palace to dance today. What are you trying to do? Sister has misunderstood me. I just want to talk to sister alone. In the residence, sister is busy and one can't see sister. I only managed to meet you in the palace today. Su Yurou explained softly. She doesn't need to see you. Yihan pulled Su Yingxue and was about to leave. Su Yingxue broke free from Yihan's hand and winked at him. Let me see what she has to say to me. Your Highness, why don't you leave the palace first? She has ulterior motives. Yihan frowned. Of course, Su Yingxue knew this. Liu Shulan is dead. If I want to know about my mother's death, she might have some useful information. But don't worry, Your Highness. This is the palace, and she can't harm me, Su Yingxue said. With curved eyebrows and twinkling eyes, she seemed to harbor 1,000 little fairies within. Yihan nodded and left the palace to wait for her. Following Su Yurou, Su Yingxue reached a secluded palace. Perhaps due to its proximity to the cold palace, a chilling wind always blew in. Su Yurou stopped, turned around, and spoke softly, Sister, shut up. Su Yingxue's face turned cold. I don't have the patience to listen to your circumlocution. Now, tell me everything you know about my mother. With their motives, both Su Yingxue and Su Yurou knew each other's intentions. If they could speak directly, Su Yingxue didn't want to waste time. Su Yingxue, do you want to know too? Su Yurou's demeanor changed, a sinister smile appeared on her pale face. Han Yuwen has repeatedly helped you escape the Marquise Manor. Wasn't it all to deal with me together with you? But unfortunately, both of you are trash. Now, you can still stand in front of me because you still have value and can tell me what I want to know. Su Yingxue remained as cold as ice, calm and steady. Every word she uttered seemed to step on Su Yurou's heart. Su Yurou was filled with hatred. Su Yingxue, do you think you're very powerful? Han Yuwen can't help me, that's because she's stupid. So, who helped you later? Wu Dao. Su Yingxue raised her eyebrows. Observing that Su Yurou's body was much worse than before, resembling a hollowed-out shell, she stretched out her hand suspiciously, wanting to grab her hand and take a pulse. However, Su Yurou ran to avoid it. After running 2 steps, she began panting. Su Yingxue, don't even think about escaping. This time, you will die. She seemed to have exhausted all her strength, and the smile on her face gradually became vicious. Don't you want to know the relationship between your mother and Han Yuwen? Let me tell you. Your mother, like Han Yuwen, is not human. Not human, Su Yingxue was especially puzzled. She wouldn't believe Su Yurou's nonsense. Su Yurou rushed towards her as if she had lost her soul, knowing she couldn't hurt her. Su Yingxue took only 2 steps to dodge, but Su Yurou missed. Bang! However, she crashed into the palace wall, blood splattering everywhere. Her viciousness froze on her pale face. Su Yingxue quickly went forward and pulled her over. Su Yurou, what are you trying to do? Did Wu Dao instruct you to do this? Su Yurou laughed coldly. Ha ha ha, Su Yingxue, you're going to die, you're going to die. She could finally avenge her. Su Yurou, eat this. Su Yingxue took a heart protection pill and stuffed it into her mouth. Unfortunately, she could not force her to swallow it, and Su Yurou stopped breathing. She died so quickly. Su Yingxue was especially surprised. When she held Su Yurou's hand, she realized that she had become as thin as a skeleton. Moreover, there were many needle holes in her body. Su Yurou pulled up her sleeves and clothes to check. She found that most of the blood in her body had disappeared. Su Yurou didn't die from the collision but from excessive blood loss. Even if she didn't crash into her today, she wouldn't be able to live for long. Her body had long been emptied. Su Yurou, what did you do? Su Yingxue was shocked. All the blood in her body had been sucked dry. What had happened to her? But before she could think, the Empress rushed in with her men. Su Yingxue, you're so vicious that you even killed your sister. One must kill you today, according to the rules of the palace. Chapter 490. Ling wanted to kill her. The Empress waved her hand, and the palace guards behind her entered in a single file. Without uttering a word, they launched a deadly attack on Su Yingxue. Su Yingxue wielded her whip to defend herself, realizing that this was all planned by the Empress. Su Yurou was killed by her sister in the palace. As the mother of the nation, the Empress, leveraging the palace rules and national laws, executed Su Yingxue. What a well-devised plot. However, Su Yingxue would not allow herself to perish at the hands of the Empress. She shouted to the sky, "Ziwei." The black figure landed and appeared in front of everyone like a demon. His entire body was filled with a fierce and bloodthirsty aura. As soon as he unsheathed his saber, he cut an imperial palace guard in half from head to toe. Boom! The lifeless body lay on the ground, neatly cut in half, without any flesh or blood spilling out. The palace guards were so frightened that they could not move. The knives in their hands were trembling. Who was this incredibly fierce person? The Empress was left dumbfounded. She had lived in the palace for a long time and had never seen such a terrifying assassin. However, she couldn't bear to see Su Yingxue still alive. She calmed herself down and roared at the palace guard beside her, "What are you standing there for? This intruder must also be killed in line with the palace rules. Today, we cannot let Su Yingxue escape from the palace." Today, she was determined to claim Su Yingxue's head. Ziwei's formidable martial arts skills behind Su Yingxue isolated her from the bloodshed. She squatted beside Su Yurou's lifeless body, examining it. There were many needle holes in her arms, especially her wrists and elbows. These were places that were easy to extract blood, but they were all bruised. Who would take so much blood, and for what purpose? She kept feeling that something was about to come out of her mind, but she couldn't remember it for a while. She needed to bring Su Yurou's corpse back to the residence and consult Saint Juan to study the matter together. She lifted Su Yurou's corpse, casting a glance at Ziwei. Ziwei nodded, and she departed peacefully. She navigated the palace roads she was familiar with. As long as she reached the palace gates, with Yihan around, no one would dare to impede her, even if she carried a corpse. However, before she could exit the secluded palace path, she encountered someone. Someone quite familiar. Guardlan. Su Yingxue stopped in her tracks and looked at the man in front of her. It had been a while since their last meeting. Ling no longer possessed the same charm. He seemed to have weathered hardships. His recent days appeared challenging. Ling couldn't conceal the longing in his eyes, a tide surging forth. "Miss Su, you look fine," Ling said with some relief. Indeed, she was a capable woman, and with the ninth prince protecting her, each time they met, her complexion was rosy and radiant. "Guardlan, if you come here just to pick me up." Although Su Yingxue had met him a few times, she still maintained her vigilance. Because she knew that Ling was born into the Lan family, which was the trump card in the emperor's hands. The Lan family had 200,000 soldiers, and the descendants of the Lan family had been loyal to the emperor for generations. Chu Mingyuan harbored a deep fear of him. "Miss Su, please forgive me. One have to disappoint you." Ling pulled out a medicine bottle from his pocket. The golden wound medicine Su Yingxue had previously given him. Although he had used it up, he couldn't bear to discard the bottle and carried it in his pocket every day. When holding the bottle, his eyes still harbored nostalgia. The moment he let go of the bottle, he transformed into a cold-blooded and ruthless assassin, drawing his knife and slashing towards Su Yingxue. Chapter 491. Use Lan Ling's life to exchange for her. Su Yingxue dodged and swiftly drew out her whip. Pa! The whip cracked loudly in the air, resembling a spirit snake as it lashed towards Lan Ling. Lan Ling's knife was entangled, but he took advantage of the momentum to move forward. After getting close to Su Yingxue, he kicked her in the chest. Although Su Yingxue used her arms to block, she still took a few steps back before managing to stand firm. The impact of Lan Ling's blade left her feeling a bit dizzy. Guard Lan, is this the Emperor's order? Lan Ling didn't attack her again, nor did he answer. He gave Su Yingxue a chance to catch her breath and immediately returned to her. Lan Ling's martial arts was very powerful. It was evident from the crack marks on the palace wall caused by his blade. The Lan family's saber technique was famous far and wide. In the past, Su Yingxue had only dabbled in saber techniques. Later on, with Ziwei, she didn't practice much. Now, forced into a corner by Lan Ling, if he slashed her with his saber, her head would be severed. Lan Ling saw a trace of blood flowing from the corner of her mouth, and his eyes filled with pain. Su Yingxue took the opportunity to slap him. Lan Ling stepped back. Su Yingxue supported herself against the wall and stood up. Wiping the blood from the corner of her mouth, she smiled faintly. Many want my life, but if one die in Guardlan's hands today, I won't be unconvinced. After all, one slacked off in my cultivation. Lan Ling's face was cold. In the past, his long hair was neatly tied up. However, today, he let his long hair fall behind his back and tied it briefly. This made him, who used to look cold and handsome, appear more elegant. The Lan family was also rich in handsome men. However, Su Yingxue felt she had to give her all against this handsome man today. Undoubtedly, she couldn't match Lan Ling's strength. But Lan Ling didn't kill her. He knocked her down and placed the knife at her neck. Suddenly, Lan Ling's breathing quickened as he said, "You should leave quickly." Although he didn't immediately stand up and ask Su Yingxue to get up, he sheathed his blade and didn't press Su Yingxue any further. He refrained from causing her more harm. Lan Ling, why? You wanted to kill me, and now you want to let me go. What decree did the Emperor give you? Su Yingxue's bright eyes were filled with doubt. She could understand why the Emperor wanted her dead. He didn't want her to become a part of Chu Yihan's power, so he ordered Lan Ling to kill her. However, he had already held her life in his hands, yet he let her go so easily. Lan Ling was captivated by her aura. He took a few more breaths before he got up and helped her up. She handed her hand over in trust. When he held it in his palm, Lan Ling's heart beat fiercely. He looked at the soft hand in his and suddenly felt no regrets. He sheathed his saber and walked into the depths of the palace. Su Yingxue gazed at his elegant back and could still hear his voice. He said, "Su Yingxue, take care." He had traded his life for hers, and he hoped her future would be filled with sunshine. Just like what she had given him back then. Su Yingxue didn't have time to dwell on these thoughts. While Lan Ling might let her go, it didn't guarantee the same from the next person who might appear. She scooped up Su Yurou's lifeless body and rushed towards the palace gate as fast as she could. Chu Yihan didn't wait for her at the palace gate. However, when she found herself surrounded by imperial guards, Chu Yihan ordered them to retreat. "Stand down." Chu Changye, leading the imperial guards, spoke with a cold expression. "This has nothing to do with imperial uncle. Su Yingxue attempted to assassinate my mother. Today, I will capture her and punish her." Chapter 492. You deserve it. Seventh Prince is indeed clever. Do you think one would carry a corpse to the remote cold palace just to assassinate your high and mighty mother? Su Yingxue rolled her eyes. The fact that anyone could believe such logic made her wonder about the upbringing of Seventh Prince, Chu Changye. Su Yingxue. Flo, dare you say that? Rua, Chu Changye stared at the emaciated body carried by Su Yingxue, his eyes stinging. Rua is your biological sister, and you can still be so ruthless to her. Su Yingxue, you wicked woman. I didn't kill her. If you want to know about Su Yurou's death, you should ask the Empress, Su Yingxue replied with an enigmatic look in her eyes. Previously, she had always suspected that Su Yurou had the support of Wu Dao, allowing her to evade the people from her marquise manor and appear in crucial positions. However, it was truly unusual for the Empress to arrive today, and Lan Ling, who intercepted her on the way but let her go. The matters in the palace were like a pile of tangled threads that couldn't be cut and were chaotic. If you dare to touch her, I will kill you. Chu Yihan stood in front of Su Yingxue. He didn't care about what she had done, but he was like a guardian god, making everyone else fear Su Yingxue. Chu Chengye narrowed his eyes. He couldn't let the two of them escape from the palace today. Hence, he started fighting Chu Yihan. Chu Yihan had a bloodthirsty disorder that had been difficult to treat for many years. He wanted to provoke him into an attack so that he would have a reason to arrest him openly. However, Chu Yihan didn't target anyone else. When Chu Mingyuan attacked him, Chu Yihan snatched his sword, broke his leg, grabbed him, and ordered the imperial guards to force him in front of Chu Mingyuan. Chu Mingyuan was discussing some matters with Wu Dao. The noise in the outer hall forced him to go out and check. Chu Chengye was caught by Chu Yihan. Upon seeing this, Chu Mingyuan immediately asked, "Ninth brother, release him. Why are you treating Ye like this?" Chu Yihan let go, but Chu Chengye screamed at his feet. "This is what he deserves," Chu Yihan said coldly. "He attacked me, his imperial uncle." Chu Mingyuan sat on the dragon throne, and the empress followed suit to create chaos. Looking at Su Yurou's shriveled corpse, he immediately knew one of the things he had discussed with Wu Dao. He frowned and pointed at Su Yingxue. "You poisoned your sister and insulted the empress in the palace. What crime do you deserve?" "Emperor, I didn't do it." Su Yingxue pointed at the empress. "I would like to ask your majesty." Su Yurou dragged me to the side of the cold palace to speak. How did the empress seem to know beforehand? Su Yurou had just breathed her last, and she brought people in, wanting to kill me without any explanation. Could it be that she and Su Yurou had not discussed this beforehand to frame me? Nonsense. Who would use their life to frame others? Isn't your sister's life a life? Would she be so stupid as to use her death to frame you? Su Yingxue, you're twisting black and white. The empress roared. Whether it's twisting black and white or not, a verification will reveal the truth. After the palace banquet, a stranger entered the empress harem. One can bring him in for questioning. Chu Yihan exuded a powerful aura. The emperor sitting on the dragon throne was not him, but he had more of an emperor's aura than Chu Mingyuan. The empress' face turned pale. The harem was her territory, yet Chu Yihan knew exactly when someone had entered her palace. She bit her lower lip tightly and did not dare to speak. Chu Mingyuan was even more displeased. The empress was not wrong in this matter. She was in the harem. Su Yurou died in the harem. She exercised her authority as the empress and punished Su Yingxue as a warning to others. She drew blood from Su Yurou's body, squeezed blood from her clothes, and dripped it onto a glass slide. Just as she was about to prick her finger to take 2 drops of blood, Chu Yihan quickly stopped her. "What are you doing?" "Blood test." "Don't worry, Your Highness. It's just 2 drops of blood. It'll be fine," Su Yingxue said softly and gently. "Use mine." Chu Yihan extended his hand, stopping her from using her blood. Su Yingxue was touched by his heartwarming action. "Even though it's just blood, Your Highness' blood is much more precious than mine." Given Chu Yihan's high status, it was likely that no one had dared to take his blood before. "Whether you use my blood or not, if you don't want to, I won't let you do it." Chapter 494. By design, Chu Yihan was very reasonable when discussing matters, but when it came to protecting her, he was never reasonable. Su Yingxue squeezed Chu Yihan's hand and pouted. "All right, I'll feed Your Highness tonight since one hurt Your Highness' hand." The sharp in Chu Yihan's eyes softened instantly as if it had met warm sunlight. "Okay." After resolving the matter, he would hold her in his arms and let her feed him mouthful by mouthful. Su Yingxue took 2 drops of Chu Yihan's blood and placed them on the glass. She brought it in front of Chu Mingyuan and explained to him after he saw it clearly, "These are 2 drops of your highness blood. If they confuse, it means they have the same blood type." She took another set and placed it in front of Chu Mingyuan. "These are the bloodstains on Su Yurous' body and clothes. They are clumped together and can't fuse, which means they are not of the same blood type. A person's blood can naturally fuse with their blood. If it can't fuse, it's not the same person's blood. So, Your Highness, Su Yurous' body has the blood of 2 people. Her excessive loss of blood was not caused by me, nor was it caused by her hitting the wall. That was someone who did it on purpose." Su Yingxue intentionally emphasized each word. She could tell that the needle marks on Su Yurous' body were caused by the syringe she had snatched from Han Yuwen. Someone had taken her blood. However, only Han Yuwen knew how to draw blood and understood this. Han Yuwen was called Wu Dao teacher. Su Yurous' death was related to the 2 of them. Chu Mingyuan had seen Long Shuli talk about medical skills in front of him, so he didn't think Su Yingxue's words were a fantasy. The killing intent in his eyes became even stronger. However, it was covered up in an instant. Chu Mingyuan was unwilling, but he had to admit that Su Yurous' death was not caused by Su Yingxue. Chu Chengye did not believe it. "Father, you can't believe Su Yingxue's one-sided story. She hated Ruwa and killed her. She's still trying to force excuses." "Yes, Emperor, this demoness Su Yingxue used her medical skills to harm people. She has a venomous heart. Emperor must not let her off." The Empress angrily pointed at Su Yingxue. How could she accept this? She had repeatedly failed to frame Su Yingxue, and now she wanted her, the Empress, to apologize to her. "Empress, you and the 7th Prince don't have to twist the truth just because you don't want to apologize. After all, Your Highness hasn't settled the score with you for rushing to the cold palace so quickly." Su Yingxue smiled innocently, but it made the Empress' heart tremble violently. She did not dare to look at Chu Mingyuan, her husband. She knew that Chu Mingyuan would never stand on her side. However, it was fine if she was wronged, but how could she let her Ye apologize to this woman, Su Yingxue? Since the Empress doesn't want to apologize, one will bring her here. Chu Yihan raised his hand. This action made the Empress' heart tremble with fear. "No, no, no, no. One apologize. One misunderstood Su Yingxue. I'm sorry." The Empress bit her lip. Every word she said was filled with humiliation. After she finished speaking, she bit her lips. The smell of blood spread in her mouth, and her eyes turned red from embarrassment. "You." Chu Yihan's gaze shifted to Chu Chengye. "I won't." Chu Chengye had been trampled on by Chu Yihan many times, and he would never lower his head today. The Empress looked at Su Yingxue angrily. "Su Yingxue, what else do you want? One have already apologized to you, but you still won't let Ye off." Chapter 495. He had to apologize. "Yes, I refuse." Su Yingxue tilted her head. "Everyone must take responsibility for their actions. Your Highness and Your Majesty have wrongly accused me. Naturally, both the Empress and Your Highness must apologize to me." Su Yingxue, you go too far. The Empress had never experienced such humiliation. For the sake of Chu Chengye, she knelt in front of Chu Mingyuan once again. "Emperor, please spare Ye. Ye is your most valued prince. How can he apologize to Su Yingxue? He. Let me, his mother, bear the responsibility for him." "Shut up." Chu Mingyuan impatiently furrowed his brow. Didn't he feel humiliated? If it weren't for Chu Yihan's military power, he would have wanted to kill him now. And he wanted his son to apologize to his woman? What right did she have? If Imperial Brother is unwilling, I don't mind standing in for Imperial Brother and teaching my nephew, who doesn't know how to apologize. Chu Yihan exuded a terrifying chill. Every word he spoke carried an intense pressure. Chu Mingyuan was filled with hatred, and Chu Chengye even more so. Unable to control himself, Chu Chengye drew his sword and charged at Chu Yihan. "Ye." Chu Mingyuan was shocked. Chu Chengye was no match for Chu Yihan. Chu Yihan unsheathed his sword, clashing with Chu Chengyes' blade. Chu Chengyes' blade immediately broke, and Chu Yihan's sword was too fast to be seen clearly. It had already severed Chu Chengyes' blade, causing Chu Chengyes' hand to bleed from the shock. His thumb and forefinger were numb, and a strong numbness spread from his palm to his entire arm. He fell to the ground, screaming, "Ah! Yeah! Yeah!" Chu Mingyuan and the Empress exclaimed. The Empress quickly rushed to Chu Chengye and shouted, "If you want to kill, kill me first. Chu Yihan, that's enough. Ye has already been taught a lesson by you. There's no need to force him anymore." Chu Mingyuan stood up, angrily shouting. Today, his face as the emperor had been completely ruined by Chu Yihan. He hasn't apologized yet. Chu Yihan sheathed his sword. He faced others with a chilling indifference. Su Yingxue, I'm sorry. Chu Chengye lay in the empress' arms, spitting out blood. The hatred in his eyes made it hard for him to see the scene before him. But he knew that his impulsiveness had brought him no benefits. If he didn't apologize, Chu Yihan wouldn't even bat an eye if he killed him. But he couldn't die yet. If he died, no one would avenge him against Chu Yihan and Su Yingxue. The seventh prince can still be saved. Just don't randomly accuse others in the future. Su Yingxue graciously accepted the apology. Afterward, Chu Chengye was taken to the empress for treatment. Chu Mingyuan had a murderous expression, but he had no choice but to wave them out of the palace. Su Yingxue thought of the person she had neglected. She had just wanted to look for Wu Dao, but she did not know when Wu Dao had disappeared. She asked Chu Yihan, "Your Highness, have you seen Wu Dao?" Chu Yihan's eyes darkened. "He left when you were done comparing the bloodstains. That's all." Su Yingxue was in disbelief. "I have a lot of doubts about him. Your Highness, one want to investigate this person. The Wu Dao that Liu Shulan mentioned, Su Yuris' death, and his plan today." Her mind was filled with mysteries. The only one who could solve these mysteries was Wu Dao. But he had disappeared. "If possible, I don't want you to come into contact with him." Chu Yihan brought her back to the carriage of the Marquise Manor. Chapter 496, exposing Su Yuris' corpse in the wilderness. Su Yingxue's hand was held by Chu Yihan. She asked, "What if one have to investigate Wu Dao?" Chu Yihan answered immediately, gripping her hand a bit tighter. "Can we not investigate?" "No. My mother's death is related to him. If he caused my mother's death, I will take revenge." Su Yingxue's attitude was firm. Even if she had to pay the price with her life, she would avenge her mother. Chu Yihan's doting eyes were filled with helplessness. "All right, I'll allow you. If your Highness allows it, aren't you afraid of danger?" Su Yingxue grabbed Chu Yihan's hand with her other hand. She had selfish motives, and Chu Yihan could protect her. However, she was more worried that she would implicate Chu Yihan. "When have you ever seen I afraid of danger?" Chu Yihan rubbed her little head. "That's true." Suddenly, he thought of something and said, "When one was out fighting, you were still a little dumpling." Su Yingxue was speechless. Chu Yihan's words sounded strange. "Your Highness, are you mocking me for being young?" Chu Yihan didn't mean that at first. He was just joking with her. However, once she got angry, she straightened her back and her chest naturally followed suit, entering Chu Yihan's eyes. Chu Yihan added, "It's not small. At her age, it was already very good for her to be like this." Su Yingxue thought that Chu Yihan didn't mind her age, so she smiled and said, "It's good that your Highness doesn't mind that I'm young." Chu Yihan's gaze was fixed on her chest. He was very satisfied. "I don't mind. You're not young either. Your Highness is good." Su Yingxue threw herself into his arms. She wasn't young anymore. She should be his princess. Su Yingxue brought Su Yuris' corpse back to the Marquise Manor and explained the Marquise Manor. She also informed Su Dingheng at the same time. Su Dingheng cried when he saw Su Yuris' corpse. Su Yingxue did not care if he was in the mood to listen or if he was willing to listen. She still explained the cause of Su Yuris' death to him. Su Dingheng only cared about hugging Su Yurou and crying. He cried so powerlessly that he did not even bother to talk to her. He could not catch his breath and fainted from crying. Get a doctor to treat him and throw Su Yurou out of the Marquise manor. Su Yingxue looked coldly at Su Dingheng and Su Yurou. She didn't give Su Yurou a proper funeral. As for why, only she knew. In her previous life, her corpse was exposed in the wilderness, and her corpse was in a mess. It was all thanks to Su Yurou. In this life, why should she let Su Yurou die a good death? A tooth for a tooth, an eye for an eye, that was the way of life. Yihan came to report Su Dingheng's situation to Su Yingxue. Miss, after Marquis woke up, he found out that second young Miss had been thrown out of the Marquise manor and cried until he fainted again. He said that he wanted you to bury second young Miss grandly and also wanted her to be recorded in the genealogy. Su Yingxue's lips curled up coldly. Go and tell him to keep dreaming. Reality? That was impossible. Miss, regarding the second young Miss, you can ignore the many discussions outside, but if Marquis goes out and makes a ruckus, it's hard to guarantee that someone with ill intentions will find an excuse to deal with you, Yihan said worriedly for Su Yingxue. It's fine. Then don't let him go out and make a fuss. Su Yingxue lowered her head and looked at the medical book in her hand. Miss, Yihan paused. She realized that the current Su Yingxue was exceptionally different from other times. Chapter 497, Su Dingheng's troubles. Although Yihan was Su Yingxue's closest maid, she had personally experienced a lifetime of blood feuds. Other than herself, no one else could understand it. So, Su Yingxue didn't share much with Yihan. After Yihan left, Su Dingheng stormed in angrily. Su Yingxue, you have everything now. Why won't you even grant your sister a funeral? She's your biological sister. Su Yingxue's lips curled in a mocking arc. Sorry, she had discarded that relationship when she returned to this life. Oh. She responded casually, then turned another page of the medical book, engrossed in her reading. Su Yingxue, are you even listening to me? Su Dingheng pounded his chest and stamped his feet. His frustration towards Su Yingxue boiled down to a single sentence. He knew that the power of the Marquise manor was now in her hands, so he could only persuade her gently. Just think of it as a father's plea. Give Rua a proper funeral, let her rest in peace, and allow her name to be recorded in the Su family's genealogy. Su Dingheng was a grown man, but he lowered his head and wiped his tears in front of Su Yingxue. If she was a soft-hearted person, she would have agreed to his request long ago. However, Su Yingxue remained focused on her medical book, responding with just 3 words, "It's not possible." Su Dingheng was so infuriated that he nearly fainted again. However, as Su Yingxue sought medical attention exclusively from a doctor and refused to examine him herself, he couldn't afford to let himself become too weakened. After all, someone needed to take care of Su Yurou's remains. Su Dingheng struggled to support his body and staggered out. Yihan followed Su Yingxue's instructions, preventing Su Dingheng from breaking out of the residence. During Su Dingheng's disturbance in the manor, Su Yingxue whispered something into Yilan's ear. Though Yilan was puzzled, she obediently followed Su Yingxue's instructions. Su Dingheng managed to break out of the manor, but he had no idea where to find Su Yurou's corpse. He just wanted to escalate the situation, believing that Su Yingxue wouldn't be able to handle it and that she would eventually give Su Yurou a proper burial. His first destination was the palace, but Chu Mingyuan refused to see him. Su Yingxue made Chu Mingyuan gnash his teeth in hatred. He couldn't do anything to Su Yingxue now, so he wouldn't meet that trash Su Dingheng. Su Dingheng was rebuffed and went to the capital prefecture to accuse Su Yingxue of abusing her sister and not allowing Su Yurou's body to be collected. Liang Jin had also heard about this matter, but when entertaining Su Dingheng, he said, "I heard that second young miss framed eldest young miss, and she died in the palace. That's why eldest young miss is in this state." Although it's not in line with etiquette, it's not a problem in terms of the law. The meaning behind his words was that he was unwilling to interfere with the pile of rotten matters in Su Dingheng's residence. Anyone who went would be in trouble. Moreover, if the law brought this matter to him, Liang Jin would sentence Su Yurou heavily. She deserved her fate. Su Dingheng had no one to turn to, so he could only go from house to house and look for Su family's relatives, his brother, third brother, and younger sister. But which family of theirs did not have discerning eyes? Previously, Su Yingxue had even generously gifted clothes and jewelry to her cousins. She was generous and considerate of her family. She was unlike Su Dingheng, who became arrogant ever since inheriting the title of nobility. He even made them split up and set up their own families. It would be strange if they offended Su Yingxue for Su Dingheng. Chapter 498. Not even the remains of the corpse were left, especially at his brother Su Fukang's house. Madame Su, Qin Wan, sneered at Su Dingheng. Letting go of such a good legitimate daughter and cherishing an unnamed concubine's daughter, causing a scene without dignity. This second uncle is truly outrageous. Su Fukang twirled his beard, wearing a scornful expression. Our Su family is known for loyalty. If it weren't for second sister-in-law, how could he have inherited the title? Has been enjoying life, even emptying his mind. Qin Wan couldn't be bothered to scold Su Dingheng, but she worried about another matter. With second uncle being so foolish, there might be troubles in the Marquise manor. At this moment, it's not suitable for us to trouble Yingxue. Su Fukang, upon considering this, frowned. Forget it. Spend some more silver, hire a better doctor, and send it to the prince's mansion in Yong'an County. Qin Wan wiped away tears. That's the only option. My daughter has suffered. Su Dingheng made a fuss outside for nothing, achieving nothing and receiving disdainful looks. Upon returning to the residence, he only wanted to vent his anger on Su Yingxue. Upon hearing that Su Yingxue was in the ancestral hall, he rushed there in anger. Su Yingxue, you've planned everything well. Not a single person is willing to help me bury Rua. Su Yingxue was offering incense with a pious attitude, completely ignoring Su Dingheng's shouting behind her. After finishing kowtowing, she stood up. A mocking smile appeared on her solemn face. Father, your commotion is perfect, giving me a reason to expose Su Yurou's corpse in the wilderness. What? What did you say? Su Dingheng was shocked and puzzled. His mind didn't react quickly to Su Yingxue's scheme. Su Yingxue patiently explained, initially, I only left Su Yurou in the alley without touching her. However, father, you were so anxious, wanting everyone to know I was abusing her. One pretended to stop you from leaving the residence, making you emotional before letting you go. If you go to the palace to cause a ruckus, the truth will naturally leak out. If you go to the capital prefecture, the justice of the law will prove him not wrong. As for going to the homes of your uncles and aunts to cause a ruckus, even they won't help you. How do you think the entire Jiangdu city will view you? Su Yingxue walked in front of Su Dingheng. Although not as tall, she used her immense aura to suppress him. They will only think you deserve to be abandoned by your family, she said word by word. If Su Dingheng didn't make a fuss, exposing Su Yurou's corpse in the wilderness would only lead to curses. However, Su Dingheng caused a ruckus. Not only that, he caused a huge ruckus. As she wished, Su Dingheng gained infamy. How could Su Yurou fare any better? Naturally, she was marked with disgrace. In this era, there was no tolerance for women. Su Yurou, a nameless and statusless illegitimate daughter, even though wrongfully killed, was only deemed worthy of being gossiped about briefly before being buried in the yellow soil. Moreover, she was not wronged at all. She had done all kinds of bad things, and everyone despised her. By exposing Su Yurou's corpse in the wilderness, she fulfilled everyone's wishes. Yihan, you can dispose of Su Yurou's corpse. Su Yingxue said in a good mood. Yihan was outside and replied clearly, yes, miss. I threw it on an unknown wild mountain outside the city. One think it won't be long before it's eaten by wild beasts. No. My Rua, Su Dingheng's heart ached as he chased after her, but he couldn't even cross the threshold and fell face first onto the ground. Chapter 499. I can only look for you, Auntie Su Yingxue. How could you be so heartless? How could you be so heartless to your sister? Su Dingheng lay on the ground, crying and wailing. I've told you, Su Yingxue, only have a biological brother. I don't have a younger sister. Su Yingxue sneered. She had believed such things in the past, but from now on, she would never again be deceived by slander or harmed by anyone. You are all my blood, all my children. Why are you so heartless? Su Dingheng sat on the ground, each word bringing forth tears, accusing and condemning. The scene struck Su Yingxue as somewhat ironic. She walked towards Su Dingheng, looking down at him from a higher position. Although she was just a 16 or 17-year-old girl, her eyes seemed to have witnessed the most profound experiences. Her icy voice, with a chilling coldness, spoke, "What if I told you that I've already died once, father?" Dead. Died once. Su Dingheng was stunned for a long time. He didn't understand and dared not believe it. What does it mean to have died once? What are you talking about, Su Yingxue? Su Dingheng couldn't ask these questions anymore. He didn't understand, and he could only bury this curiosity in the Marquise Manor, in his courtyard. Outside Jiangdu City, on a desolate mountain, a female corpse lay in pieces, torn apart by wild beasts. When Su Jinxian arrived, he shooed away the vultures that were pecking at the last piece of meat. He could only salvage the 2 remaining bones of Su Yurou. Su Jinxian brought the bones to a place and buried them secretly. He looked at the 2 tombstones in front of him. One was his mother, and the other was his sister. His eyes were filled with a bloodthirsty light. Su Yingxue, I will make you pay with blood. The diplomatic meeting of the 4 nations concluded, and the envoys began leaving Jiangdu City one by one. Since Su Yingxue had taken on the role of a female envoy, she saw it through to the end and bid farewell to the envoys. The departure of other envoys was uneventful, but Han Yuwen, who had undergone surgery under her hands, and a maid who died at the hands of Lin Sisi, left with a look of intense resentment. It was as if they wanted to devour Su Yingxue alive. Seated in a luxurious carriage with a somber expression, Han Yuwen spoke, Su Yingxue, we will meet again. The next time will be your reckoning. Princess, remember to live for a couple more years. Otherwise, in the future, one won't find anyone as merciful as you, willing to let me practice surgery on them. Su Yingxue smiled politely. Chu Jinling followed behind Su Yingxue, laughing mischievously. Auntie, you better make her so mad that her wound splits open. What if she turns back halfway and demands you take responsibility? Su Yingxue raised her lips. Then I'll give her another surgery. She enjoyed practicing surgery on Han Yuwen. Chu Jinling had followed her for a few days, being considerate and presenting gifts. It made Su Yingxue suspicious of his intentions. Ninth Prince, be honest. Why not go to your imperial uncle for help? Why come to me? Chu Jinling's fair face blushed. Going to imperial uncle won't help in this matter. One can only come to you, Auntie. Initially, Su Yingxue found it awkward when Chu Jinling called her aunt, as he was a year or 2 older than her. Yet, he insisted on this address, and over time, she got used to it. She clapped her hands. Then, please tell me what you need my help with. Of course, Sisi. Chu Jinling revealed a face full of longing. I can't resist when my mother is being ruthless. She won't allow me to see Sisi. Chapter 500. Su Yingxue's experience in surgery. She kept me locked up for a long time. Now that I'm out, there are quite a few people following me. One can't even catch a glimpse of Sisi's clothes. Auntie, do you know how Sisi is now? How is her face? Is she doing well? This, Su Yingxue indeed knew. Chu Jinling couldn't see Lin Sisi, but she could. Ever since she discovered her martial arts were inadequate to overcome Ling, she committed herself to training and self-defense. She frequently engaged in sparring sessions with Lin Sisi. Lin Sisi, raised under Lin Aoshan's guidance, had deep internal strength and formidable martial arts skills. Being a woman made it convenient for her to teach Su Yingxue martial arts. Their daily interactions made Su Yingxue feel that Lin Sisi's condition was much better than Chu Jinling's. Don't worry, Sisi is doing well. She eats well, sleeps well, and is in good health. Everything is fine. Su Yingxue thought saying this would put Chu Jinling at ease. Chu Jinling eagerly looked at her. Did she miss me? Is there any message she asked you to convey to me? His eyes, full of anticipation, sparkled with starlight. Each glance conveyed his longing for Lin Sisi. Su Yingxue truly couldn't bear to hurt him, so she had to make an excuse to escape. Hey, Auntie, where are you going? You haven't answered my question. Chu Jinling pursued her persistently. The reason Su Yingxue was reluctant to tell Chu Jinling was that Lin Sisi had told her, Dr. Su, if it's unattainable, then let it go. Su Yingxue finally finished her busy tasks and enjoyed 5 days of leisure at home. During these 5 days, Saint Juan brought many cases for her to treat, working together. She was gaining more experience in surgical procedures. Every time Saint Juan assisted her, his eyes lit up. You're quite something, young girl. Why are you so skilled? Su Yingxue awkwardly smiled. Well, you're not bad as well. Being able to assist her so skillfully, coupled with Saint Juan's decades of medical expertise, he was far more experienced than her. She had suggested once or twice, if you're interested, practice more, and I can teach you surgical procedures. Saint Juan shook his head, saying, I'm not interested in such bloody matters now. Moreover, when it comes to wielding the scalpel, it's unstable. Compared to you, I'm far behind. You handle the incision and suturing, and I'll assist. This arrangement solidified Saint Juan's position as her assistant. On this day, just after finishing surgery with Saint Juan, Yihan informed her, Miss, your aunt is here. Auntie. Su Yingxue raised her eyebrows. This was indeed an unusual guess. She quickly changed into a cherry blossom red dress to welcome her. In the main hall, Qing Wan appeared dignified and elegant, her swan-like graceful neck reflecting her noble posture. Su Yingxue knew that her cousin, Su Han, had inherited the refined demeanor of her aunt. She served tea to Qing Wan. Qing Wan also had a gentle smile on her face. Yingxue, one know you've been busy these days, so one didn't come to disturb you. One haven't heard much from you these few days, so I thought of coming to see you. Just like Su Han, she spoke in a comforting tone. It was an art to converse with them. However, when Su Yingxue saw that the gifts Qing Wan brought were all very expensive, she became cautious. Aunt, if you're just here to see me, you don't have to be so polite. Is there anything specific where one can be of assistance? Wanna gift the story? Try one. Comment 0 Comment Vote 3 Left Asiendi Jefti Chapter 501, Regional Prince's Mansion's Peril. She spoke directly, and Qing Wan knew that her mind was as clear as a mirror, which pleased her. Putting down the teacup, Qing Wan earnestly spoke to Su Yingxue, if it weren't for Heina's current perilous situation, one wouldn't have wanted to bother you. Yingxue, I implore you, can you save your cousin? Qing Wan, born into a prestigious family and married to Su Yingxue's uncle, General Weiwu, Su Han, was married into the regional prince's mansion. It was not an exaggeration to say she belonged to a noble family. However, now she set aside her status as an elder to make such a plea. Su Yingxue furrowed her brows. What has happened to cousin? Your cousin is currently imprisoned in the prince's mansion of Yong'an County. Your uncle and one can't see her at all, and am uncertain about her current situation. Tears welled up in Qin Wan's eyes. What illness does cousin have? What's the situation in the prince's mansion of Yong'an County? Please, aunt, tell me everything step by step. Su Yingxue recalled Su Han's kindness in her previous life. Before she passed away, Su Han was the only one who came to the Marquise Manor to find her. In this life, even though she had made a deal with Su Han was still an honest sister. Asking these questions probably meant she wanted to lend a hand in saving Su Han. However, she needed to understand the situation first. Qing Wan recounted everything to Su Yingxue. A few days ago, Heina began feeling unwell in her stomach. She consulted a doctor who declared she was pregnant. We were all overjoyed about the child, but soon, Heina became bedridden. Your uncle and one sought numerous renowned doctors to visit the prince's mansion of Yong'an County, but none were allowed to examine her. The doctor sent in 2 days ago was a servant of your uncle. He managed to bring back a note from Haina. It turns out that Haina, as Qin spoke, tears flowed uncontrollably. Her choked voice weighed heavily on Su Yingxue's heart. Has cousin been mistreated in the regional prince's mansion? It's not just mistreatment. Miss has been imprisoned by the prince's mansions. Chapter 501, Regional Prince's Mansion's Peril. She spoke directly, and Qin knew that her mind was as clear as a mirror, which pleased her. Putting down the teacup, Qin earnestly spoke to Su Yingxue. If it weren't for Haina's current perilous situation, one wouldn't have wanted to bother you. Yingxue, one implore you, can you save your cousin? Qin, born into a prestigious family and married to Su Yingxue's uncle, General Weiwu, Su Han, was married into the regional prince's mansion. It was not an exaggeration to say she belonged to a noble family. However, now she set aside her status as an elder to make such a plea. Su Yingxue furrowed her brows. What has happened to cousin? Your cousin is currently imprisoned in the prince's mansion of Yong'an County. Your uncle and one can't see her at all, and am uncertain about her current situation. Tears welled up in Qin Wan's eyes. What illness does cousin have? What's the situation in the prince's mansion of Yong'an County? Please, aunt, tell me everything step by step. Su Yingxue recalled Su Han's kindness in her previous life. Before she passed away, Su Han was the only one who came to the Marquise Manor to find her. In this life, even though she had made a deal with Su Han was still an honest sister. Asking these questions probably meant she wanted to lend a hand in saving Su Han. However, she needed to understand the situation first. Qin recounted everything to Su Yingxue. A few days ago, Haina began feeling unwell in her stomach. She consulted a doctor who declared she was pregnant. We were all overjoyed about the child, but soon, Haina became bedridden. Your uncle and I sought numerous renowned doctors to visit the prince's mansion of Yong'an County, but none were allowed to examine her. The doctor sent in 2 days ago was a servant of your uncle. He managed to bring back a note from Haina. It turns out that Haina, as Qin spoke, tears flowed uncontrollably. Her choked voice weighed heavily on Su Yingxue's heart. Has cousin been mistreated in the regional prince's mansion? It's not just mistreatment. Miss has been imprisoned by the prince's mansion's people. They said. Qin Wan's maidservant looked indignant but dared not continue. This made Su Yingxue even more anxious. Su Yingxue furrowed her brows. If aunt has reservations, one won't press further today. However, if you wish to save cousin and restore her innocence, please tell me the truth. This matter is truly difficult to talk about. Family matters shouldn't be aired in public, but Haina's life is more important. Qin seemed to have steeled herself before continuing. The people from the prince's mansion said that Haina isn't pregnant. She's carrying a ghost fetus. Because Haina's belly has expanded in just a few days. A hint of surprise flashed across Su Yingxue's eyes. Her stomach expanded in just a few days. Cousin should be around 2 months pregnant. That's correct. That's why Haina has been mistreated by them. The county lord in the regional prince's mansion is also domineering and ruthless. She has always had a strained relationship with Haina. Now she has ordered Haina to be locked up, and I'm afraid Haina has suffered greatly inside. Qin covered her face with a handkerchief. This was her greatest sorrow as a mother. Her precious daughter was seriously ill and imprisoned in her husband's house, and she and her husband could do nothing about it. They had done everything within their power. Now, only Su Yingxue could help them. Yingxue, you're a genius doctor. You can surely diagnose Haina's illness. She isn't pregnant with a ghost fetus. It's all baseless rumors. Moreover, considering your status, the prince's mansion of Yong'an County will surely give you some respect. Qin sounded a little embarrassed, but Su Yingxue understood what she meant. Chapter 502, Save Su Han, she could go to treat Su Han, but she needed someone who could smoothly bring her inside the prince's mansion in Yong'an County. This person naturally belonged to Chu Yihan. Princes, regional princes, all belonged to the royal family, but in terms of identity and status, no regional prince could compare to Chu Yihan. He was the most prestigious prince in the Great Qing dynasty. The regional prince's mansion might not give a face to the emperor, but it couldn't afford to offend Chu Yihan. If Su Yingxue brought him along, how many regional princes' mansions would she be barred from entering? Su Yingxue agreed to Qin Wan's request. Aunt, rest assured, I will see my cousin. Yingxue, Aunt thanks you in advance. Qin Wan's eyes shimmered with excited tears, not knowing how to express her gratitude to Su Yingxue. Su Yingxue was not someone who beat around the bush. Since we're family, Aunt, there's no need for formalities. When my father caused a commotion at Uncle's mansion, it caused you quite a bit of trouble. Aunt was understanding and didn't pay attention to it, which also saved face for me. Now that cousin is in trouble, I will naturally contribute my efforts to save her. Su Yingxue's poise and grace made Qin Wan admire her. When they went separate ways, Qin Wan and her husband left the Marquise Manor. Su Yingxue was still young and had a somewhat mischievous personality. She didn't particularly like Su Yingxue. However, in the following years, as Su Yingxue grew up, she gradually transformed into a different person, surpassing everyone's expectations. Qin Wan left with peace of mind. Su Yingxue had all the gifts Qin Wan brought sent back. She didn't need to be so polite to save Su Han. However, Su Yingxue didn't know much about Su Han's situation. While there was no such thing as a ghost fetus in this world, Su Han's situation, becoming pregnant in just a few days, was peculiar. She sent a message through Yilan to Saint Wan, asking if he wanted to go together to the prince's mansion in Yong'an County. Saint Wan got excited upon hearing about the illness. I've never seen a ghost fetus. Let's go, we're going now. Su Yingxue shook her head. Entering the regional prince's mansion is not that easy. We need to find your highness first. In the 9th prince's mansion, the moment Su Yingxue appeared, she received a warm welcome from everyone in the mansion. The old steward always greeted her with a joyful smile. Miss Su, tea and new snacks have been prepared in the upper hall. Please, take a seat. Uncle Steward, you don't have to be so polite. It makes it seem like every time I come, it's especially troublesome, Su Yingxue said, feeling a bit embarrassed. Her treatment in the prince's mansion was even better than in the Marquise Manor. Saint Wan teased her. Are they mobilizing so many people? They are welcoming the princess. Su Yingxue blushed and turned around, glaring at Saint Wan. The old steward smiled kindly. That's true. Su Yingxue felt even more embarrassed. She braced herself and walked towards the hall. As she passed by the garden, she heard a long roar. Oh my god! What kind of hobby does Chu Yihan have? Other people have pets, but he has tiger. Saint Wan jumped, looking at the majestic Shan Bao on the Tiger Mountain in surprise. Su Yingxue also looked over. She realized that there were a few days when the Shan Bao seemed to have lost a little weight. It barked at her a few times. Could it be that it hated her and wanted her to leave quickly? Su Yingxue trembled. The fear of almost dying in the tiger's mouth made her quicken her pace to leave the garden. Shan Bao roared. Because it had scared Su Yingxue away the last time, it had not had a full meal for a long time. It was already so pitiful, so why would Su Yingxue run away? Chapter 503, Show Love. When Su Yingxue rushed into the upper hall, she collided with Chu Yihan. Chu Yihan promptly carried her into the hall, and as Su Yingxue looked up from his embrace, she couldn't help but admire his smooth skin and perfect jawline, succumbing once again to infatuation. Hey, men and women shouldn't be so intimate, especially in broad daylight. Can you be more discreet? Saint Wan strolled in, feeling his teenage heart wounded. Su Yingxue ignored him. Chu Yihan snorted. If you don't want to see it, just leave. No one bothered to keep him around. Saint Wan widened his eyes. Chu Yihan, you're too heartless. After knowing each other for years, it felt like a swift dismissal. Mochi shook his head and reminded Saint Juan, "Around your highness, you need to be more self-aware. Learn from him." When he was a third wheel, he had to take the initiative to disappear. When his master was showing off his affection, he had to eat something that could help him digest his food. Only then could he stay by Chu Yihan's side for a long time. Saint Juan retorted, "I'm not here for a meal. Su Yingxue, have you forgotten the main reason we're here?" In front of everyone, Su Yingxue snapped back to reality. "No, I haven't forgotten." She leaned into Chu Yihan's arms and blinked her watery eyes. "Your Highness, are you free today? Can you accompany me to the Prince's Mansion of Yong'an County?" The Prince's Mansion of Yong'an County? Chu Yihan pondered for a moment. "You've had no dealings with the regional Prince's Mansion. Is it because something happened to your cousin there?" Su Yingxue's eyes lit up. "Your Highness knows about my cousin. Why does he know so much? Did he notice Su Han because of her beauty?" As a woman's sensitive nature emerged, she couldn't hold back anymore. "Over the past 2 days, the shadow guards have been reporting," Chu Yihan replied casually. "Your Highness, isn't my cousin very beautiful?" Su Yingxue suddenly felt her heart sink. Chu Yihan pursed his lips. "One don't have any impression." Other than Su Yingxue, all wealthy daughters looked the same in his eyes. They were not distinctive. He had never paid attention to Su Yingxue's cousin. He only knew her surname was Su. Observing this, Mochi quickly added, "Miss Su, your Highness pays attention to the Su family to protect you. Therefore, the shadow guards report the situation of everyone in the Su family to your Highness. Your Highness is not familiar with your sisters." Not familiar was an understatement. They probably knew Su Yingxue had sisters with the surname Su, and that was about it. Su Yingxue was surprised. "Your Highness is so meticulous for me." Mochi nodded in agreement. "Your Highness' attentiveness to Miss Su goes beyond this. TSK, maybe he has ulterior motives." Saint Juan couldn't stand seeing Chu Yihan and Su Yingxue being so sweet. It looked envious. You're the one with ulterior motives. Do you think all men in the world are like you, a scumbag?" Su Yingxue scolded Saint Juan. "Let him talk about her imperial uncle. Chu Yihan wasn't like that. Let's go. 111 take you to the regional prince's mansion." Chu Yihan held Su Yingxue's hand, and they left. Su Yingxue walked past Saint Juan with a snort, warning him, "Don't speak ill of my imperial uncle again." Saint Juan rolled his eyes at her. A love-struck girl. Chu Yihan didn't defend himself at all, but seeing Su Yingxue defending him made him curl his lips in delight. Su Yingxue had thought that the regional prince's mansion would be close to her but not to Chu Yihan. However, she did not expect that they would be given the cold shoulder when they arrived at the entrance of the mansion. Chapter 504. How dare you shut Chu Yihan out? Mochi's expression darkened. "This is unreasonable. In the great Qing dynasty, no one dares to reject your Highness outside the door. Has the regional prince's mansion so bold?" Saint Juan cursed along. "What nonsense regional prince's mansion. If I can't see the patient today, I'll use poison to rot his door." Su Yingxue, rubbing her chin, felt a bit puzzled. Only Chu Yihan remained calm. He instructed Mochi, "Inform the old Your Highness that I am here to visit him. Then, inform the 5 cities military department." Mochi immediately left. Su Yingxue immediately understood. The reason why the regional prince's mansion closed its doors to you is most likely because the old Your Highness is not in the residence. As for the 5 cities military department, it seems that the current prince of Yong'an County is working there. Chu Yihan scratched her nose. "You have a good memory." Su Yingxue smiled. After experiencing 2 lifetimes, her memory was naturally better. However, in her previous life, Su Han didn't interact much with her after she got married. Although she didn't lead a very happy life, she also didn't experience the misfortune of conceiving a ghost fetus. In less than half an hour, The old regional prince rode a carriage and rushed over from his residence outside the city. After he got out of the carriage, he greeted Yihan. "Your Highness, it's your honor to come. I've neglected you. Please forgive me, Your Highness." "There's no need to be so polite," Yihan said lightly. He didn't say much, but the old regional prince could tell that Yihan wasn't very happy. Regardless of why Yihan suddenly wanted to visit his cousin, the old regional prince's heart was already trembling from the fact that he had been standing at the entrance of the regional prince's mansion for so long and the door had yet to open. "Are you all a bunch of trash?" he roared. "Don't you see Your Highness standing at the door? Open the door and let him in. Are you looking for death?" The old regional prince's voice was like a great bell. When the manservant heard his voice, he did not dare to be negligent and immediately opened the door. The steward came out to welcome him and hurriedly went to support the old regional prince. "Master, you're back." "Bastard. What master? All of you pay your respects to Your Highness. How dare you lock Your Highness outside the door? See how one won't spare your head." The old regional prince was furious and agitated. He even coughed heavily a few times. The butler quickly led everyone to kowtow to Yihan. "Welcome, Ninth Prince. I was negligent. I deserve to die. Please forgive me, Ninth Prince." This group of people kowtowed like pounding garlic. Yingxue felt relieved just by looking at them. The steward complained in his heart. The one who didn't allow the door to open was the master, and the one who opened the door was still the master. It was not easy for servants like them to live. "Your Highness, the door is wide open. Please don't mind. Come in and have a seat." The old regional prince respectfully invited Yihan over. He stood beside Yihan and was still trembling. Although Yihan was much younger than him and was also his cousin, there was no one who could match him in terms of power and honor in the great Qing dynasty. He didn't even dare to address him as his imperial brother. He had to address him as Your Highness. Yingxue wanted to see Han as soon as possible, so she rushed in. However, Yihan said, "I wonder who is unhappy with me in my imperial brother's residence. Before we go in, it's better to be clear." The old regional prince's heart tightened. What should have happened had come. Yihan's debt would not be forgotten. Chapter 505. The outcome was a fight. He put on a thick face and whispered, There are a few insensible people in the residence. One will punish them. Your Highness, go in. Don't get tired standing." He was afraid that if Yihan stood there for another 15 minutes, the plaque of the regional prince's mansion would fall off. Yihan didn't move, but the cold air around him was getting stronger and stronger. The old regional prince's back was covered in cold sweat. He knew that it was impossible for the matter not to be resolved. He could only order in a low voice, "Go and invite the princess consort out. Find out which servant in the manor is so insensible that he dares to refuse Your Highness entry." The steward's expression was troubled. He leaned into the old regional prince's ear and said something. The old regional prince's expression changed drastically. "Is the princess consort sick? When did it happen? Why didn't you tell me? If the princess consort was sick, then what about the madam? Doesn't she care?" The steward did not dare to say that it was the old madam's idea to not let Yihan in. When she heard that Yingxue from the Su family had come and wanted to lock her out, she locked the door together with Yihan. The old regional prince felt a mouthful of blood stuck in his throat. He wished he could scold these people in the residence for being so careless. He quickly asked someone to invite his wife over. When Madame Sheng arrived, she still looked lazy. She adjusted the precious jade hairpin on her hair bun. "Master, it's fine if you're back. There's no need to make such a big fuss. Our miner is painting. Be careful not to disturb her." "What are you arguing about? Do you want to die? How dare you let the Ninth Prince stand outside the manor? Hurry up and apologize to the Ninth Prince." The old regional prince stomped his feet anxiously. Although he was no longer an official, his sons were still around. If they offended Yihan, his sons' futures would be ruined. All of them should prepare to go to the countryside to farm. Although Madame Sheng was no longer a princess, she still had her family backing her. She was a second-rank imperial edict, so she was arrogant wherever she went. She also despised Su Han's family background, so she tortured her a lot. She was arrogant and despotic and was rarely yelled at by the old regional prince. Now that she was embarrassed, she refused to apologize and even glared at Yingxue. If it wasn't for this stupid girl, would the 9th prince have come to visit our regional prince's mansion? She didn't dare to face Yihan directly, but she was very clear about their relationship. At the same time, she was also being careful. What could a junior like Yingxue do to her? Yingxue's face puffed up in anger. It's fine if Madam says something bad to me, but from what one see, you don't welcome 9th prince. How dare you insult Yihan? Beat you up. No, no. Your Highness' presence brings light to the residence. How could I not welcome Your Highness? Your Highness, please come in. The old regional prince had always wanted to treat Yihan well. Yihan glanced at Yingxue, who was standing in front of him and protecting him. He felt a trace of relief in his heart. When he looked up again, his eyes were filled with a cold, killing intent. Mochi, punish the person who neglected me. Mochi cupped his hands. Yes, Your Highness. He turned around and looked at the old regional prince. Old regional prince, when the emperor was out with Your Highness, someone had neglected Your Highness. The emperor rewarded that person with 30 strokes of the stick. The old regional prince trembled. He had heard of that matter. The other party was considered an outstanding civil servant back then, but because he had neglected Yihan, he had been beaten 30 times. Now, he was going to beat his foolish wife. The old regional prince trembled. Only then did Madame Sheng react. Her eyes widened. What? Do you dare to hit me? 30 strokes of the stick. You guys are dreaming. Yingxue, you little bitch, what did you do to 9th prince? It's all your fault. You're tuning in to the Dreamy Chapters YouTube channel. We're so grateful for your support, and don't forget to subscribe to join us on this incredible journey through captivating stories. Your generosity through donations truly makes a world of difference, as it's the primary source of revenue that allows me to expand and enhance this channel for you. Thank you from the bottom of my heart for being a part of this adventure.